Russia is about to take over the city of Sumy 3 years after facing a pushback from Ukrainian forces. The Russian military units have been making advances in the northern region and are reported to be within 29 kilometers of Sumy. To talk more on this and all that is happening on the battlefield, we are now being joined by James Jackson, defense journalist and political analyst. He's joining us live from Germany. Welcome to WION Live Conversation, Mr. Jackson.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Mr. Jackson, Russia is about to take over Sumy. How significant is this and how perhaps dangerous is Russia's advance on Ukraine's Sumy region?
So it does look like Russia could take over Sumy. It's not a done deal yet, I have to say. But if this were to take place, this would be a very rare case of Russia taking land now that it didn't take in its first assault on Ukraine during the full-scale invasion 1,202 days ago. This would be a major blow for Ukrainian morale, and rather than necessarily a turning point, I would say we've reached an escalation of the war. Russia has at least 30,000 soldiers surrounding the Sumy region, which is the capital of Oblast named the same, the eponymous Sumy city. But also last night, we saw the largest ever drone attack of the war on Ukraine. Most of the drones, there were almost 500, most of them intercepted, along with around 10 missiles aiming at the central and western regions. You have to remember that there is currently the backdrop of peace negotiations in Istanbul. So while Russia is escalating, Ukraine is also matching that with, of course, reports last night coming from the Ukrainian military that they had attacked and damaged 2 fighter jets, including a MiG, as well as that was about 400 kilometers away from the Ukrainian border, as well as a factory creating elements for the drones that Russia uses for its attack. So both sides are trying to escalate, and I believe this is so that they can push for the advantage in peace negotiations. Now, today is Monday, which was supposed to be the day when the fruits of the first round of negotiations, or the last round, bore fruit, in the sense of a prisoner exchange of all of the younger prisoners, numbers of prisoners of war. But Russia and Ukraine both look unlikely to do this, with one side blaming the other for manipulating and pulling out. So it looks like rather than settling on the negotiation table, they really will be fighting it out for the moment, especially if Russia feels like it has the advantage.
You speak of how this is clearly an escalation from Russia's side. Russia has also claimed that its forces advanced into Ukraine's Dnipropetrovsk region for the first time since the invasion began. Do you think that a new front in the Ukraine war has opened up?
If they take Sumy and if they've entered Dnipro, the city of Dnipro and the oblast around that, then this really would be a new front. I think it looks likely that, this central region is not as safe as they thought it was for the Ukrainians. I think actually this is quite a risky time for Ukraine, with Russia conquering more and more territory. Ukraine has had a number of strong intelligence successes, and its defense remains strong. However, it looks like they could just be overwhelmed with time and with the pure amount of manpower and military power that Russia is putting behind it. And this is a conflict which threatens to drag the entire region in. So last night, Poland actually scrambled its own fighter jets because they were afraid of and wanted to protect from missiles entering Polish airspace. That's how far into Ukraine Russia is firing.
Right. And what kind of impact will all this have in the peace talks, which at this point of time are stalled?
I think it's tough to say exactly. Both sides are pushing aggressively for advantage in this peace talk, but I think that may have been how this current offensive started out. However, I think the damage here is possibly that one side will cause so much damage that the other side will not want to continue in peace talks. Russia takes it very seriously that what they see as its sovereign territory is attacked by Ukraine, but actually from Ukrainian perspective, that's very much just destroying Russia's ability to make war by attacking factories, fighter jets, and bombers with its rather novel drone bombing campaign.
Right, Mr. Jackson, joining us live from Berlin, I want to just take the following question. Your assessment of Germany's new military deal with Ukraine, does that signal a more muscular stance on Russia, or from the broader point of view, how perhaps is Germany placed at this point of time in the Ukraine-Russia war?
Germany, as you may know, elected a new chancellor around a month ago. And he has promised to do whatever it takes to protect Ukraine. Friedrich Merz has seen as rather more hawkish than his predecessor, Olaf Scholz. So they actually changed the constitutional rules to allow more defense spending and rearming for Germany. But along with that, there's also been a lifting of range restrictions for Western-made weapons so that Ukraine could, if it had the right type of missile, it could use those in Russia. It's unclear whether the new German government will be giving the Taurus missiles, which are mid-range cruise missiles that could be used, Russia fears could be used to strike the Kerch Bridge, which is the bridge between Crimea, occupied Crimea, and mainland Russia. So we do see an increase in support for Ukraine by the West, particularly by Germany. But the question is it too little, too late?
Just to follow up on that, how do you assess West's position in the ongoing Ukraine-Russia war, especially that of the United States of America, with Trump just a day before saying that it was Ukraine who prompted Russia to attack Kyiv?
We see very much a mixed signals from the West, with Europe and America divided like no point in living memory, except perhaps for the Iraq War. But during the Iraq War, of course, the UK supported America. But really what we're going to see is an increase in European strategic autonomy, i.e. Europeans making decisions that can impact them. Russia doesn't really threaten the United States. It might threaten its interests around the world, but it doesn't threaten the United States' territory and sovereignty. Whereas Europe sees the United States under the administration of Donald Trump as an unreliable ally that is actually in some ways sympathetic to Russia's imperialist war. Particularly with Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin's close relationship, well documented, although they do seem to be disagreeing on a number of things. At the moment, Trump hasn't been able to bring peace. Whoever he blames, Trump is unpredictable, but that unpredictability is itself predictable in a sense. So European military experts and politicians have decided we need to back our own defense here. We can't rely on the US for too long. And Europe is relatively united, particularly in the Baltic region, the Nordics, as well as parts of Central and Eastern Europe, that Ukraine's territory is crucial for European sovereignty.
Right. Thanks very much, Mr. Jackson, for taking our time and joining us here on WION World as well.
Thanks for having me.